for making it acceptable by the tax authority in the corresponding entry. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll have to have a tax committee in the IFAC for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to allude to the gentleman's comment about education, education, as far as I know, begins at home. So if we can just start teaching our youngsters the good governance and accountability and integrity at home, they'll go into school, regardless of the school they go to. It'll hopefully reduce the number of wall chalkings as we have. But thank you very much for putting your point across, for bringing your point, and also for asking the questions. My next guest on stage is actually the session chairman, and Asif Saab has already kind of given an intro about your company. And this gentleman needs no introduction, especially in this community. Neither does his organization. May I please request the session chairman, Mr. Rohail Mohammed, the group CFO of Engro Corp, to give his concluding remarks for the session. Please give him a big round of applause.
I just need to keep this paper. Assalamu alaikum ji. It's always a pleasure to be here amongst such an august gathering. I've been requested to just sum up the session, which I'll do very quickly, and then maybe a couple of comments from my side. The first speaker we saw, Ian Ball, talked about integrated reporting, of where we need to move from just profits to issues like governance, social aspects, environment, etc. And therefore, the implication of that being that the management is just not responsible for profits, but their performance appraisal, their remuneration is then tied up towards how they've utilized resources, what are the impacts they've created on environment, etc. Obviously, there are criticisms about integrated reporting, like it becomes too long, etc. But obviously, these are, as time goes by, these will be readily more accepted. He talked about how the report will be a little different from the conventional report, where you are reporting financial numbers at a point in time, where there will be trends, how the company will sustain in the future. There will be non-financial parameters to be measured, and obviously bigger value issues will be discussed more or highlighted more versus simply detailed numbers as such. Moving on, Asif Saab talked about the triple bottom line, why there is again the same move towards the governance and strategy and sustainability. He's made the case for corporate social responsibility and why the government alone cannot take that responsibility and the private sector has to chip in. He talked about the issues which are happening in the world, about carbon emissions, food security, water scarcity, etc. And how this trend about whether it be integrated or triple bottom line reporting is being done by the top companies in the world, and that has been appreciated across. He's talked about the SECP draft that is coming out and how I think the ICAP and the KAC can play a role in encouraging local companies to do more integrated reporting as such. Just a few points from our side. As Asif Saab has already mentioned, we already publish a sustainability report at Engro, and we cover aspects, just to give you a slightly more practical viewpoint on that. For example, in the profit side, we talk about not only numbers, but we talk about the investments we've made, how they've impacted the communities around us, etc. How things we do, for example, in terms of engaging policy makers. We, for example, in the same section, we set targets on just not profits, but in terms of environmental targets, how much we have to reduce emissions by, and so on and so forth. In the people aspect, we talk about the social investments we've done. we are very strong on two aspects, education and health. These are the focus areas for us. And the amount, for example, our policy is that we spend about 1% of our pre-tax profits on these. In fact, because of 2010, because of the flood spike, we spent about 125 million rupees just as Engro in social investments in that particular year as such. Our report, which is also available on our website, is a GRI, GR3 compliant, and also there is a certification on that report goes in. Now, obviously, this section is about reporting, and I think the critical thing is that why this reporting? I think that the reporting creates the awareness, creates pressure on management that these are the parameters we will be stewarded on, and that's how the focus will move towards that. So unless these things are reported, these will not come into the limelight. The other issue, I think, from a personal perspective, is reader awareness. So, I mean, if you look at this report and if you go through there are, many, for example, Asad mentioned about, say, profits. So there are many things, for example, how much taxes you've paid, how much remuneration you've done, how much you've given to shareholders, etc. But unless there is reader awareness of appreciating these aspects, I'm not sure what use these reports will be. So I think that part needs to be covered as well. The other thing is that I think what happens is that the situation we are going through, especially in Pakistan, the financial crisis or whatever it may be, these things suddenly become, how should I say, second priority. It's always, defending your bottom line as such and sacrificing long-term aspects, because these things will play out in the long term. So I think we should be careful that this needs to be sustainable as such. The other issue which I personally feel will come about is that even if you talk about, let's say, the code of corporate governance, right? The code is there. Some companies follow it in spirit, but we know for a fact that some companies just follow it in letter, and the spirit behind that is actually missing in what needs to be done. And I think even if ICAP or KAC or SCCP comes up with regulations on that, whether it will simply be paying lip service or actually something that may actually come about from that as such. So I think these are some of the issues which need to be looked at. Just a final comment from my side is that as a finance professional, as most of you are, I think CSR itself, I got convinced when I came in, especially into the Anglo system and where it was being practiced very ardently, is I think from two perspectives. One is obviously a pure moral aspect of it. You are living in a society which has rewarded you, and it is time for you to pay back in whatever way you can as such. The other is, I think, even from a pure business perspective, it is good business practice to be sustainable. It will pay off in the long run. A very small example, which I would conclude with, if you remember, there were, when Mohtarma was assassinated and there were riots all over the country, believe me, our plant site, the fertilizer plant site in Dharki, was totally unaffected, whereas bigger plants closer by to us had their offices ransacked and their cars destroyed, etc. And we found out that it's because we had given so much to the environment or the people around them that they appreciated that gesture, and that kept us safe as such. With that remark, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're extremely grateful for your acceptance to be here this morning. As Asad Ali Shah Saab mentioned, the Commissioner of the SACP, Mr. Tahir Mahmood, was supposed to be here, but he had a family emergency which he's tending to in Canada, and hence Raheel Saab is here. So before we break for tea, may I please request Mr. Abdul Rahim Surya, who's the immediate past president of ICAP, to join me on stage and help give a few mementos of our gratitude. Please give Abdul Rahim Surya a big round of applause. May I request Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah, who's the past president of ICAP and also the managing partner at M. Yusuf Adil & Co., to receive a memento of our gratitude.